The Fox News' most recent poll is full of a lot of bad news for President Donald Trump and Republicans. Now, a poll by the network released on Sunday found that a solid half of all Americans backed impeaching and removing President Trump. That admission, that news left Fox and Friends host Brian Kilmeade stunned. Awesome. Now, it gets worse because now we go into policy, right? Now, it turns out that when you ask these people, which of course mixed Democrats and Republicans, you can look at the methodology of the poll, it was not weighted unfairly towards either side. Uh, so generally, it's a cross section of America. That's essentially what polling is. And so they asked respondents, what about policy? So, and I think policy is a great question because that's kind of what we do here. That's what I prefer is questions about, hey, what policies do you prefer, and pushing for, I think, policies that will help America and every American. And so they were asked about it, and the results are kind of devastating towards Donald Trump. Poll respondents were first asked if they strongly or somewhat favor or opposed several proposals that 2020 candidates on both sides of the aisle are supporting. So now, what got the most support? Well, turns out that it was Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax. 68% of respondents favored the proposal. So now that is stunning. 68% of Americans say, yes, let's put a tax on millionaire wealth and billionaire wealth. That's great. That's great. So that's what we need in this country. And no, it's not to punish the rich people. Really, in reality, nobody needs over $1 billion. Why do billionaires even exist in this? And look, the problem with billionaires is not the fact that they have so much money and that they're bad people, right? No, the problem with billionaires is that in the same country that we have multiple billionaires, we have people that are starving. And so, that's kind of like two sides of the same coin. You have people that are so wealthy that they don't know what to do with their money, having all that money. And you also have people that are starving in the streets that can't afford first homes. They can't afford health insurance. They can't afford a doctor. They can't afford even food for their families. There are so many families that are in America that are food insecure. Instead of letting that billionaire have even more money, maybe some of that wealth that is just sitting there, that is not doing anything, that is not recirculating back into the economy, that is basically being hoarded, should go back to making sure that there are people that don't starve or die because they can't afford insulin. Makes sense, right? But of course, if you ask wealthy Republicans and wealthy people, they act like Smaug the dragon from The Hobbit. No, you can't have it. Can't touch it. It's my gold. My gold. So, I think I saw a really fun exchange on social media earlier today. This is Peter Dow, right? So you guys know Peter Dow. He was one of the biggest pro-Hillary people during 2016. Very anti-Bernie, very pro-establishment, right? Now, fast forward today, Peter Dow is talking about how billionaires shouldn't exist, how nobody needs over $1 billion. What an amazing transformation. I mean, seriously. And look, I know some people are like, oh, dude, he's just grifting. Okay, but have you seen him trying to sell merch? Has he been doing that? Has he been doing, go to my Patreon, buy my book? No, I don't think so. I haven't seen any of that. I do think it's an actual legitimate transformation on the part of Peter Dow. In fact, some of us are going around calling him Chairman Dow, which is great. But going back to that, that interaction, he asked, well, why do you need why should anybody have over $1 billion? And Kirstie Alley responds to that, oh, because they made something effing awesome and everybody wants it. No, dude. Oh, no, baby, what is you doing? Thing is that, again, billionaires, they're not created that way. No, in order to be a billionaire, you generally have to, and to amass that much wealth, you got to step on a lot of people to get there. It's not just about, oh, I made this product and that's why it's awesome. No, somewhere along the way, you've made a lot of that money from crushing labor, busting unions, making sure that, people, for example, Jeff Bezos, the billionaire, richest person in the country. Amazon warehouses are death traps. I mean, there are people that get crushed by falling pallets. There are people that get crushed by machinery, and so not only that, but you have massive workplace injuries from the repetition of the job. People that aren't even able to use the bathroom at work because they have to meet these quotas, and so you've got all that going on. And he's trying to prove that, like, no, billionaires really are a result of exploitation of labor. And so that's kind of the problem with billionaires. So wealth tax really does make a lot of sense. All right. So now, anyway, this wealth tax, again, is, look, Elizabeth Warren's is very mild wealth tax. Wait till they see, of course, Bernie Sanders' wealth tax. Oh, man. Now, that's the most popular. So what about Donald Trump, right? Well, we already know the tax cuts for the rich he passed. Not exactly popular, right? And so if he brings that back again, which of course Republicans, if they win a second term, of course they're going to go try to cut taxes for the rich again. That's what they do. That's basically their only other policy priority other than, well, the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. And so that was the other thing that was asked about. So now, comparatively, Trump's promise to build a wall among the U.S.-Mexico border got about 44% support, with 52% voicing their opposition to the plan. So that's kind of disastrous, right? That is Donald Trump's chief policy priority, is building the wall. Well, looks like not exactly popular. Now, there is also bad news for progressives on here. And I would be remiss if I didn't actually say this as well, because in reality, this just means that progressives need to be better on messaging. And so let me give you that news. One of the questions asked was, do you support replacing all private health insurance with a government-run program? That actually had less support than the wall. About 41% of Americans say that they support it, 53% that they were opposed to it. So, look, that's a disaster. So here's the thing about that. So now Medicare for All has actually been savaged by corporate media. I mean, you turn on the TV, you turn on CNN, MSNBC, and for one, I'm sorry, or even Fox News, obviously, and you're going to see pundit after pundit, segment after segment of why Medicare for All is horrible, it's unworkable, it's terrible, and we should not be able to do it. And so, look, again, wall to wall, right? Ironically, speaking of the context of the wall, you have, of course, not as much pushback on the idea of a border wall. So you have people on supposedly liberal MSNBC. So I guess they gave that, but I guess they gave that up a long time ago. I don't know. I haven't watched MSNBC other than, just talking about the hit pieces against Medicare for All and Bernie Sanders and any plan that is even remotely progressive. That's all you see. Just attacks, right? Now, even that has caused even Elizabeth Warren to move away from single-payer healthcare. And she's already been wishy-washy on it before. Now she's talking about, oh, no, we need choice in healthcare. Oh, no. Oh, don't even do it. In fact, you have every pundit, every cable news organization, every big paper, essentially, and all candidates except for one candidate that have come out or at least distanced themselves from single-payer healthcare. The only person who's been consistent on it and will continue to be consistent on it is Bernie Sanders. But now, this is less about healthcare, but I did feel that it was important to mention. But terrible news for President Trump. Again, their own healthcare system was disastrous. It was rejected for being deeply unpopular because it did roll back cheap protections put in place by the ACA that did prove to be popular. But the wealth tax, again, that shouldn't be a surprise. The wealth tax is actually a populist idea. Billionaires, we know, don't pay enough in taxes. Corporations, for sure. Yet you have working people, that make a paycheck, that put in honest hours. They pay too much in taxes, and by the way, they don't get anything for it. And so, look, man, wealth tax, that's a popular idea, and much, much more popular than the wall. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.